Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the podcast. Maybe I should just make that the title, the podcast. Although every time I think of a title that I think sounds kind of cool, it's usually taken. The podcast, most likely taken. Welcome back to another episode. So, lately, guys, there has been a lot of things just kind of freaking me out about kind of the direction of the world. I haven't been in a panic per se, but I would say that I am more than slightly concerned. So, some of these things are, for example, world politics. Now, we don't need to get into the specifics because this is not a political podcast, although it would be cool because I just talk about anything I like. But stuff that's happening in America, but obviously, it's not just America. I feel like there's a bit of a scary trend going on in a lot of countries throughout the world. Another thing is AI and how people are using AI and how I think AI is getting out of control without being, what's the word? Not controlled. Without being regulated. I think it's just going crazy and it's going to get to the point where it's going to be hard to come back from where we're moving forward. We're going to be too far gone because I think it'll get integrated into too many places for people to take it out kind of. I have a lot of opinions about that. Obviously, there's a lot of housing crises going on in the world, particularly in my home country of Australia. Houses are too expensive, young people can't afford them, and as a result, unfortunately, a lot of people don't have anywhere to live or are struggling to find somewhere to live. Also sucks. But that's not what I want to talk to about today. Surprisingly, yes, I know things have started off very bleak, and I do want this to be a podcast with more or less positive vibes, something you can listen to, relax, feel good, and just kind of help pass the time a little bit. So, it kind of started off with me looking up an anime series. It's called Our Haru Ride, or Blue Spring Ride in English. I watched it for the first time in 2014, which was when it originally aired. I watched it in Thailand, and I loved it so much that I went and bought the manga and I read the whole manga, and it's still one of my favorite manga series of all time. Unfortunately, the anime only goes up to volume 4 of the manga, and there's about 12 volumes altogether. So I was looking up where I could watch it. It's on a streaming service called Unext. It's a streaming service in Japan. It has most of the BL series, and it's got actually HBO series goes onto Unext as well. So just to clarify, I am currently subscribed to Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Disney Plus. I'm on Amazon Prime because when I moved to Japan, I did a lot of shopping on Amazon, and it just seemed more cost effective to join Amazon Prime, not for watching videos, but because you get free shipping, which actually I did save a lot of money because it's about 10,000 yen, about $100 per year. And they tell you how much you save every year. I saved like $500 on shipping or something. It was nuts. And there are some pretty cool stuff on Amazon Prime, some cool exclusives that I like watching, like The Boys and other things like that. Also The Bachelor Japan. Oh guys, The Bachelor Japan, very, very good. Highly recommend it. Is also one that I'm watching at the moment. I'm having a great time. I joined Disney Plus because I wanted to watch a bunch of Star Wars stuff. It was less the Marvel, more the Star Wars. And I actually feel like Disney Plus is pretty sick. I quite like a lot of the content on there. Got a huge catalog, obviously. But when I wanted to watch Our Haru Ride, it was on Unext, and I was like, I'm not going to join another streaming service. I think 3 is enough. And then it just kind of got me really frustrated. I was like, why are they spreading all the content so thin across different platforms? Obviously, I know why. It's because everyone wants to make money. And if you make your own stuff, you wouldn't want to sell it to someone else. So you would make your own streaming service. But then another thing is different series, they move between platforms. So for example, all the Disney stuff that was on Netflix was up on Netflix until a particular amount of time. Then, Disney were like, we're going to make Disney Plus. So they took all the stuff off. And that happens quite a lot. Like, Netflix will let you know when things are leaving the platform and whatever. And it's just such a hassle every single time to Google, what platform can I watch this on? And then a lot of the times, a lot of older movies or kind of niche-ish movies, not even that niche, they're not even available on any streaming platforms. You're like, what the hell? How can I watch this? And so, there's also other things going on with Kindle and Amazon where they don't even let you download your books anymore. So you never own the books you buy on Kindle, which is nuts. I just think they're not marketing it as a rental service. They're marketing it as a buy. It's not pay to rent. It's pay to buy. You're supposed to be buying the book, but you never own it. And it's so funny because obviously I grew up in the 90s and early 2000s. Buying things was normal. You would buy VHSs, DVDs, books, whatever. Even your music you would buy, you get a DVD and then you rip the DVD on iTunes and put it on your iPod or whatever. And honestly, when streaming and Spotify first came around, I was like, this is the coolest stuff ever, but I'm really starting to get turned off by it. Another thing is like when I open up Netflix or Amazon or whatever, sometimes I just feel like I don't know what I want to watch, but I want to watch something, for example, while I eat my meal. And I just spend like 10 minutes just scrolling through all the different platforms and I just can't come up with anything that I want to watch. So there's a huge trend going around the world right now where people are going back to buying physical releases or going back to buying more manual technology such as modded iPods, 3DS games. Now, 3DS games, obviously, they don't make them anymore. Just for the record, Nintendo 3DS, the console, they don't make them anymore. So the only way to get them is buying them pre-owned because the eShop for the 3DS store is already shut down. You can't buy anything from the eShop anymore, which also sucks. And there's a huge community of people that are modding 3DS games. I've looked into it. I haven't done it, but it's quite easy to do. You can jailbreak your 3DS, and because 3DS games file-wise are quite small, a lot of people, you can apparently just download like 100 games. It's like really easy to do. And not that I agree with piracy, but when there is no other choice, I'm just glad that there are options out there for people, because it's just nuts to have to spend like 2 times the price of a game just because quantity is scarce and some people want to make a quick buck. Can I go off on a tangent? I just hate these. I don't use the word hate very lightly in my life, but I hate these like resellers, man. Like if you bought something and you sell it, I think it's totally fine. But people that go out of their way to buy stuff in bulk to sell it at a larger price, specifically people who buy Pokemon cards, they suck. They just ruin it for everyone. So I don't know if you guys know, but actually the Switch 2 release in Japan, they have 2 different editions of it. They have the Kokunai edition, which means like domestic edition, and the multiple language edition. So the domestic edition, it can only be used in Japanese. The whole Switch is in Japanese. When you play games, they're only in Japanese and you can't change the language, and it's at a slightly reduced price. And then you have the multi-language one. They haven't said this is why, but I'm very sure the reason screw me. The reason why they did that is because if you guys remember during COVID, there was a huge shortage of Nintendo Switches. Everyone wanted to get Nintendo Switch. It was so hard to get one. And I am very sure that foreigners were buying all the Switches in Japan to sell them overseas. So I think it was a way to combat resellers. And I totally agree with it. Like people are like, oh my God, it's so unfair. Why do you get Switches for cheaper? It's like because other people ruined it for everyone. And just like with Pokemon cards, these cards are for kids. I am not a kid, but I am not buying and reselling Pokemon cards or buying them in like ridiculous amounts so other people can't have them. Have you seen these videos of people that go to like Walmart or like Costco or whatever, and they bring a trolley and they just like throw everything in the trolley, or people like having fights over the stock? Like if people are having fights over Pokemon cards because they just wanted them to take home and open, I still kind of think that's okay. But people having fights to get as much as they can so they can sell them is just awful. Tangent over. Although I kind of forgot where I was at with the previous topic. But anyway, oh, that's right. Physical releases. So, maybe it's because, I grew up in a time where we used to own stuff, but I just feel like I'm just tired of being, I don't think victim is the right word, but I'm tired of being like at the mercy of these like streaming services and big companies and stuff. So I have myself gone on a little bit of a shopping spree. I've only bought like 3 things, nothing crazy, but I have decided to just really find out what things I really love, and I have decided that I would like to own physical copies of them. Also, the kind of tough thing is because I'm living in Japan at the moment, Japan has a great collection of Blu-rays. They get a lot of special edition releases in Japan for some reason or another. And the second-hand market is fabulous. There's so many second-hand like stores that you can go to, and the prices are, I would say fairly reasonable. The problem is DVDs and Blu-rays released in Japan don't come with English subtitles. I think it's kind of lame. I get why. Majority of the people living in this country aren't going to need the English subtitles, and it probably has something to do with distribution rights as well. It just sucks because, man, like the dust jackets look really cool, and I would love to collect them that way. But anyway, that leaves me with the option of unfortunately having to buy stuff from overseas. But when you get something on sale, it's not ridiculously expensive. It's surprisingly affordable. So the Blu-ray purchases that I've made so far is I got that anime that I wanted to watch, Blue Spring Ride or Ao Haru Ride. I got that off eBay. And the thing about that is that it's not made anymore. You can only buy it secondhand. It would be very hard to find it new. I think from here moving forward, the stock is just going to keep getting lower and lower. So I was happy I was able to find a copy before they got either too rare to find or too expensive. I wish I could support it directly by buying it new, but secondhand market, you got to do what you got to do. I got the new re-release of Neon Genesis Evangelion. They just re-released the whole original anime plus the end of Evangelion movie as a Blu-ray set. I really wanted to get the rebuild movies, but the first 3 movies were licensed by Funimation, and then the last movie was licensed by another person. And there's 4 movies altogether. You can get the last 2 reasonably easy and a good price, but the first 2 are kind of out of print, if that makes sense. Like out of print as in like you can't find them new in a store anymore. Now, this is the collector in me, and I don't exactly love this part of myself, but the jacket art and the way the spines line up is awful. Like, the colors are whack. And then I was thinking to myself, does that really matter? Because what is most important to me is that I own the physical media. I actually have found the English American copies of the Blu-ray in Japan at a very reasonable price. So I'm kind of on the fence about getting them just because the dust jackets are so ugly, but I'll just think about it because I feel like at some point in time it's got to get a re-release. But then if 1 and 2 get re-released, I don't know if they're going to match up with the current 4 and 3 that's out at the moment. So I was thinking maybe if they like release it, the whole thing as a collection sometime in the future. And also the other thing is, like, as much as I'd love to own it, I don't feel like watching it right now, but I'm getting hit with those huge fear of missing out feelings. FOMO. If you know what I'm talking about, And so I'm kind of like in a small panic, dude. I was lying in my bed last night. It was like 1:20 in the morning, and I had done a little bit of, looking around on the internet, and I had closed my laptop, put it to the side, and I was like, it is time for sleep now. And as I closed my eyes and I was listening to YouTube, because unfortunately, I actually like to listen to stuff when I sleep. I don't like sleeping in silence. I can if I have to, but I don't really like it. It just popped into my brain. I was like, wait, what about Avatar: The Last Airbender? So I opened my computer again, went on Amazon, and then looked up the Blu-ray edition of Avatar: The Last Airbender. So I got Avatar: The Last Airbender as well. So I got 3 things altogether: Blue Spring Ride, Neon Genesis Evangelion, and I got Avatar: The Last Airbender. Because I feel like these are 3 timeless things that I will definitely like to watch more than once. And if I have kids someday, I would definitely like to share these particular series with my children as well. Now, the thing is, obviously with having Blu-ray, is that you're going to need a Blu-ray player, which is fine. They're fairly cheap. You can get ones that plug straight into your computer, which is pretty cool. But actually another cool thing is there are many programs you can use to actually rip the data from the Blu-ray, and you can like put them on your hard drive, and now you have a physical copy and a digital copy of all your Blu-rays and DVDs, which I think is really cool. You probably get into some legality issues, but I think in general, if you make a copy and you just keep it to yourself, I think it's okay. I'm not a lawyer. Don't quote me on this, and don't refer to me when the police come knocking on your door being like, did you copy all of your Blu-ray? Did you? But Perth said it's okay. Where is he? So don't like quote me on this, but I've read that apparently according to some countries' law, as long as you don't sell it or like redistribute it, it's okay. That being said, I think when you turn on a DVD, it says prohibited from making copies. Anyway, I think as long as you keep it at home, it doesn't really matter. So yeah. So right now, I also have a very compulsive personality. I get really into things for like 1 week or 2 weeks, and then I just forget all about them and move on. So right now, I'm really into physical media and kind of like buying Blu-rays on sale. I don't know how long I'm going to be like this for, but also I do enjoy the hunt. Like when something is out of print or when something is not available new, I enjoy going on a little adventure, a little treasure hunt, trying to find where I can get it. I never pay ridiculous prices, but that's part of the hunt. That's what makes it so fun, is finding it in good condition at a good price as well. So yeah, that is this episode's rant, just stressing that there are a lot of things that if you enjoy, you gotta own it, because if you don't own it, it might not ever be available to play, to watch, to listen to, or to use ever again. So if you own it, no one can take it away from you most of the time. And that goes for movies, music, video games, everything. So I've been buying a few like 3DS games. I've been buying up a bunch of Switch games recently just because I think it's just worth having the physical copy. But the problem is space, of course. Especially me living in Japan, my apartment's tiny. I don't have anywhere to keep all of the stuff. So that's why I'm trying to be extremely selective and just buying the things that I want. But I think one of the plus sides is that if you buy physical media now and you decided to sell it at some point, I don't think you're going to lose a lot of the money, especially if you're buying stuff new or on sale, because the thing with physical release is that there's a finite number of them, especially I think with games and limited edition Blu-rays and stuff like that. If you hold on to it for long enough, I'm sure someone's going to want it. So I'm not saying sell it at a profit. You can, obviously, if you want to, but at least, it's not going to be like you buy something for $10 and sell it for $1. You know what I mean? I think. That's just my opinion. Or prediction, perhaps. You decide. One thing I wanted to ask you guys, is there anything that you collect the physical media of? And if you do, please let me know. And I want to know what's like your holy grail, or what are the things that, for example, if you had to sell your collection, but you were allowed to keep just a few items, what ones would you keep? So if you just sell your anime collection, what other anime that you would never ever give up? And also, guys, I would like you to let me know what are some all-time good anime that you think it's worth having the physical edition of, because whilst I do have, I would consider a fairly decent encyclopedia of anime series in my head. Obviously I haven't seen them all, so there's probably a lot of series that you have seen that you think are great that I haven't seen and I would probably be interested in, or something that I've already watched but I just can't remember it, and if you said it to me I'd be like, oh my god, I love that series, I got to get the Blu-ray of it. So please let me know as well. Alrighty, now let's move on to the Q&A section. As always, thank you guys so much for giving me your questions over on Patreon. I do really appreciate it. And you guys sent in some really awesome questions this week. So, starting with Christina. You've mentioned before how you became interested in pursuing skills you had originally learned as part of work. For example, dancing in the Kim Porsche tour. I'm just a bachelor. I'm not good at remembering lyrics. I was curious if there were any skills/hobbies you wish you could portray in a role, either ones you already have and would like the chance to show off, or ones you like the excuse of a role in order to try. I would love to be able to learn some boxing. If I ever got to do a serious boxing role, I would love to learn how to box. I mean, I could in my private life anyway, but obviously, like you said, if you have to do it for work, you kind of got an excuse to do it. Yeah, boxing for sure. Or like maybe like a bit of MMA, Brazilian, heard of it? Jiu-jitsu. I think that would be really cool. I quite like learning like new physical skills. I did take quite a few singing lessons to get better at singing for the musical that I was in, but if I could take more singing lessons to get better, that'd be cool. I did really enjoy dancing, and I had said that once the Kim Porsche was over that I wanted to continue. I did go to a few dancing classes, but I think I got too self-conscious about it. And then I actually got the chance to do a bit of dancing for a show that I did this year with my current management in Japan, and that was pretty fun to do a little bit of dancing again. I was surprisingly like not bad. Well, I was good at the basics. I wasn't like a good dancer or anything like that, but I had a little bit more experience than other people, so that was kind of came in handy. I'd also like to be able to use a lightsaber. That would be pretty cool, like some sword fighting skills. Not that I would ever use a sword to fight in real life, but I think the sword fighting and choreography part of being in a Star Wars movie will look really cool. And I really want to learn how to draw. Digital is fine. Like, just I want to be able to draw like Pokemon fan art. So if I had to learn how to draw for a role, that would be really sick, for sure. Okay, next question is from Caviona. If the opportunity presented itself, would you and Talay do a collaborative gaming channel? I don't think that me and Talay doing a collaborative gaming channel would be particularly successful, if that makes sense. Just because, we got our start in BL together, and we haven't done any BL together since 2020. So me and Talay doing a gaming channel now to be like, hey guys, what up? This is our gaming channel, Talay in Perth. I don't think it would take off as well as a lot of people think it would. I think we're better off just like doing our own thing and then collaborating every now and then instead. And also because Talay does a lot of his streaming in Thai and I do a lot of my streaming in English. I think it's like fun that we get to like tap into different groups of people. I quite enjoy that. This is also another good question from Caviona, so I'll just answer it now. As an actor, have you ever wanted to try getting experience behind the scenes, such as writing, producing, or directing? Okay, so I have been thinking about this quite recently because I've been trying to get better at shooting my YouTube videos in a lot of different ways. For example, I'm more conscious of lighting. So today I'm lighting from the side because apparently having shadows fall on my face makes it look a little bit more cinematic. If I have the light front onto my face like this, well, it's still kind of the same. It's not really front on, but having your whole face lit up reduces like the dimensions. It gives less 3Dness to your face, if that kind of makes sense. So having a light from the side like this apparently makes your face look more interesting. So that's kind of like one thing. Also, I've got different lenses for my cameras. I started using lenses, sorry, not lenses in the camera lens. I mean the things that you screw onto the front of your lenses on your camera. What are they called? Filters. I've been starting to use lens filters. So for example, when I shoot outside, I've got an NV filter on my main camera because it has a native ISO. Now this is like gonna get into camera talk, but it has a native ISO. So if I go outside and it's too bright, there's nothing I can do to like get the colors back. So I use an ND filter. It's kind of like sunglasses for your camera. It makes everything a little bit less harsh in the sunlight. And I also use a black mist filter, which gives a little bit of like halation. So when you have a light, I have a light on me actually, but if I have a light, it kind of like puts a little glow around it and also makes things just look a bit softer. And obviously I want to have good audio. So when I'm at home, I use this microphone. When I'm out and about, sometimes I'll use a lavalier mic, which you can see in some of my videos where I was talking at the park. I have a microphone clipped on my shirt, but I did get a new hot shoe mic where I put it on top of my phone. It gets a very good audio. I also am trying to get better with my shot composition, so like setting up a scene. And that's also tied to like me playing around with my camera when I'm out and about as well. So I honestly have been more interested in the technical side of filming because I think having as much knowledge about the non-acting side actually helps more with the acting as well, if you know as much as possible. But you know, there's so many aspects, and within one aspect there's so many different branches that you can really dig deep into, and I think it would take a long time to learn all about those. But I think, you know, if I was lucky enough to have a long career, I would definitely love to learn about other things. But I would definitely stay away from writing. I'm not a good writer. That would probably be the most challenging thing for me. And if something's challenging, it's probably worth doing, but not at the moment. I think if I had to pick something that wasn't acting, I would be interested in probably producing first and then directing second. All right. This question is from Mariana. Hi, as an actor, is there any kind of ritual or anything you do before getting into any scenes or photo shoots? Or perhaps a lucky charm? I don't really have any rituals that I do. I do get nervous all the time, so I'll do a lot of deep breathing before shooting scenes just to try and calm down, because even though it's really hard to do, like for example, if you go into a scene and your character's like really chill, but you're super nervous on the inside, it kind of gets hard to act because you're like trying to hide your own emotions and project another one, I feel like. Obviously, if the character was super nervous, then that would be perfect. I would love to play a super nervous character all the time. But yeah, a bit of deep breathing to calm down. I do listen to music sometimes. If at the beginning of the scene it's already sad, or my character's already sad, I might listen to a bit of sad songs to like get me in the mood. But apart from that, nah, man. But one thing that happens to me a lot is because when I get nervous, my face gets kind of twitchy and I can like feel my face like not moving as naturally as it usually does. And so I will do like some face kind of stretches. Like, so I'll like scrunch up my eyes and make sure all the muscles in my face are warmed up. Otherwise, I just start looking unnatural. And I think a lot of people, when they watch, they probably don't notice, but they stand out to me so much when I'm like watching TV shows that I'm in and stuff. I'm like, ugh, look at the way my eyebrow moves. Like, there's just stuff that maybe I only notice, but it bugs me. So yeah. But in general, I just try and relax and stay chill. All right. This is a fun question for me. So this question is from Esan. It's in Japanese. It says,パース君がジェダイだったとして必要があればダークサイドのフォースを使いますか？ダークサイドのフォースを使う必要を感じるのはどういう状況だと思いますか? So she asked me, if I was a Jedi, great way to start a question. If I was a Jedi and it was totally necessary, would I use the dark side of the Force? And if I felt it was necessary to use the dark side of the Force, what kind of situation would that be? So, I have learned something interesting about the Force recently. I'm talking about it as if it's a real thing, which is kind of funny. But it is. Star Wars is real. A lot of people think about the Force as being yin and yang. So, for example, if there's only two Jedi in the whole world and one is super in the like light side of the Force, then the other person has to be in the dark side to balance things out. But that's actually apparently not the case, from what I was reading most recently on Reddit. So, you know, take everything I'm about to say with a grain of salt. But apparently, the prophecy of the Chosen One, Anakin Skywalker, is that he will bring balance to the Force. But the interpretation of the word balance is interesting because, it's you think about it like this: light, dark, they're the same. But apparently the balanced state of the force is just light, because it's not the light side and the dark side, it's the force and then the dark side of the force. So if there is dark side force users, it's already out of balance. It's not like there's a bunch of normal force users and they tip the scales like this, which results in super dark side users coming out. That's not the case, I believe. So I found that very interesting because I always thought about it like that particular way, but that doesn't make any sense because Anakin brings balance to the Force by killing Darth Sidious and also himself inadvertently. So that just leaves Luke. And when it's just Luke, just for ease of understanding in the light, now the Force is balanced. Oops. It's just a little alarm I set for myself. Unprofessional, I apologize. So back to the question, would I use the dark side of the Force? So with that definition of the Force, I would like to say no, I would not use the dark side of the Force. Although then you get into that kind of conversation about kind of grey Jedi where they should just use any part of the Force. I think it would be okay to like tap into the dark side if you can control it, but then you always have the risk of, it's kind of like a drug. Once you start using the dark side of the Force, then you get addicted to it and you feel strong and all that kind of stuff. I would feel like if I had a healthy relationship with the dark side, I might use it sometimes. But if it was like a situation, when would I use it? I think I would only use it in like life or death situations. Like it's just seriously, like if someone's going to get seriously injured or a lot of people are going to get hurt or something like that, I would use the dark side. But in general, I think I would try to stay as clear from the dark side as possible, stay totally away from that. And with that being said, that is the end of this week's podcast, guys. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. I hope you found this time entertaining, possibly a little bit fun, and maybe a little bit relaxing. Thank you so much, everyone, for sending in your questions. I will see you again in 2 weeks' time for another episode. See you later.